What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Full Blast. I am your host, Raja Burrows, and today we're going to be talking about the importance of choosing your saviors. More accurately, we're going to be talking about the importance of the language that you use to describe your behavior. Okay, so this is going to be a little more on the NT side of things. But I've been doing a lot of processing recently and thinking about, positive mindset and how to sort of change my perspective on certain situations and how much agency I have and don't have and whatever. And there's something that I realized that I was doing linguistically that I didn't even realize. It was definitely a linguistic tick that I kind of took for granted. And I posted about this in the Facebook group, but I wanted to actually expand on it in a meaningful way in the context of saviors and demons. So one of the things that I realized is that in all of the years of being part of the OP community, studying OP, the majority of the time we talk about doing our saviors and doing our demons. And I would like to propose a switch in phrasing. I am going, at least for my part, I am going to start to try and say, I'm choosing my saviors or I'm choosing my demons. Here is why I think that is such an important distinction. So the problem with our saviors is not the fact that they are saviors. That's incorrect. The fact that they are saviors is not the problem. Never has been the problem. You're really good at whatever muscle you've built up over time. So if I am wired to use my NI and my TE in a savior state, over time, I'm going to be pretty good at NI and TE. And when NI and TE are the right tools for the job, especially when it's like, well, NI and TE are the right tools for the job, and blasting is the right tool for the job, okay, yes, I would be stupid to go into a demon consume mode. That would be dumb. That would be the equivalent of, well, I have to nail this nail into a wall, and I have this kick-ass hammer, and I love hammering shit, but you know what? I'm going to do my demons and I'm going to use this screwdriver to drive the... No! That would be moronic. You would never do that in real life if you're like, no, the right tool for the job is a hammer and a nail. Because life is an Indigo Girls song sometimes. And that's just what you got to do. And if you happen to be good at using a hammer and a nail, then that's what you should do. Just that seems very obvious to me, right? The problem is when you use your saviors in a default state or in a mindless state rather than an intentional or mindful state. That's the dichotomy that I am really interested in right now when it comes to the personal growth side of objective personality, right? Because once we can split the board in that way, that opens up a whole new axis of honestly just being able to see reality. Being able to see reality clearly. And listen, there are times... Again, let me also say, I'm not recommending necessarily that you be in a state of hypervigilance or intense mindfulness about everything that's not sustainable. The human brain cannot handle this. You are absolutely going to have to go on autopilot for a lot of the portion of your day. But I think it's important to recognize just how many choices we make in just a given minute, to say nothing of an hour, a work day, a full day. We are constantly making decisions. We just are. Even, how about this? Here's a very concrete example. This is the third time I've restarted this video, because I recorded the first minute and a half of the intro twice, and I chose to redo it because I was like, you know what? I can do better than this. This isn't quite as honed as I want it to be. It's not really getting the right tone that I'm looking for. So I chose to restart. Right? And the reason why I think that this understanding of how many choices we make in a given minute, hour, work day, week, whatever, like, you're like, oh my God, there are a lot of decisions that I am making, right? Even, so here's been my big thing. When you're a kid, they say, don't take the next bite until you've finished the food that's in your mouth. I've started to actually try to do that. Boy, has this been a difficult habit to break. Holy shit. But recognizing that even when I am eating, I can choose to chew and swallow, or I can choose to shovel food in my mouth. These are choices that I am making in the moment. And it is my privilege and responsibility to choose mindfully. And once I started to do this, and again, I really just like starting to slow down and understanding the difference between fake urgent and real urgent. And here's the thing. Last night, there was an actual emergency. There was an actual emergency in my apartment building. There was a fire in the garage. I guess a car caught. I don't know. That's an actual urgent thing. I had to get a few irreplaceable possessions, like passport, social security card, and then just leave my apartment and hope my shit was okay. Right? That's an actual urgent situation that if I fuck around, I could lose my life. Like, that's a real thing that could have happened. That is an urgent situation. There are so many things that are not urgent, right? So I bring all of that up because I'm coming at this from the need to be like, I need to be more mindful and intentional about where I put my energy and my attention. Again, for some people, like for me, it's manifesting as needing to slow down. For others, it might be needing to hustle a little bit. Whatever. That's not the point, right? The point is the intentionality. And the reason that I wanted to talk about choosing your saviors is because, first off, you're good at your saviors. Presumably. Like, whatever your double activated savior is, you're going to be really freaking good at that. You're going to be super, super good, right? At whatever your double activated savior is. And so the whole point of choosing your savior is just to spark the muscle of choosing. And it's to spark that intentionality and mindfulness that you can then start to apply to every other facet of your life. So, here are just a few of the choices that I made this morning. This is, again, this is a handful of the ones that I was consciously aware of, to say nothing of the ones that I probably wasn't, right? I chose to cancel my second alarm because I felt that I could get up in time. After my first alarm went off, I was like, you know what? I'm good. I got a good enough night's sleep. I don't need this second alarm. So I chose to cancel it. I laid in bed for 5 minutes. Then I chose to get up. I chose not to turn on my computer until I had done all of my morning routines. I chose to... I put a little bit too much olive oil in the pan when I was making my eggs this morning. And I chose to leave it. Right? I chose to leave the house at a certain time to get to my personal training session because I valued the time that I spend with my trainer and I didn't want to be charged for something and canceling last minute. Like, that's, yes, he'd get paid, but like, that's not really cool and is an important thing to me. So I chose to go to the training session today. I didn't have to. I could have just stayed home, eaten the $86, and been like, merp. But I chose to go to my training session. I chose to have a glass of water before I put any food in my body because I know that's an important thing to start your day. I chose the night before to make sure to fill up my Brita filter so I'd have enough cool water that was filtered for both my glass of water in the morning as well as the water in my water bottle that I needed to bring because I can't drink out of the drinking fountains at the gym. That's like barely scratching the surface of how many choices I'm making, right? But the reason that I love thinking about this so much and really trying my best to be as intentional and mindful and present about the choices that I am making is that it opens up a whole world of choices that I can make differently. And it's done. Listen, I'm a double decider anyway, but like, I feel so much less stuck just because I'm like, oh, well, if I'm already making, like, if these are just the choices that I'm aware that I'm making, okay, now let me start to look for other places where I can make choices. Especially when something isn't going my way, when something isn't whatever, right? Because I'm building the choosing muscle, it means that during times of stress, I'm not as afraid to use that muscle, right? Last night, I was like, okay, there are a few things that I need. So I grabbed immediately, right, my passport and my social security card, right? Because I was like, okay, that was like a very automatic. It didn't feel like a choice. That's a habit. Like, again, I had run through this scenario. I knew exactly where they were. I've thought about in all the various apartments I've lived in. Okay, in an emergency, what's the first thing you grab? That shit can't, it's not that it can't be replaced, but trying to replace a social security card is a nightmare. So I grabbed that and I was like, okay, great. I can either leave right now or I can take another 30 seconds to grab some more valuables, things that are replaceable but inconvenient to replace and like kind of expensive. Okay, let me take 30 seconds and put a bunch of that shit in my backpack and then I'm gonna leave, right? That was a choice I was able to make in the moment, and I was able to make it clear-headedly because I looked at it, I looked at the situation I was in, I looked at the opportunity, and I was like, okay, I cannot control the fact that there is a fire in the building. I cannot control the fact that I need to evacuate. But I can control the fact that, you know what? I got 30 seconds. I have a solid 30 seconds. It's not going to make that much of a difference. The fire isn't next door. It's on the other side of the building in the garage. I have my mask. I have my KN95 mask. I'll be able to breathe for another 30 seconds. I'm fine. Let me do this for 30 seconds. And then I left, right? And I think it's so... Once you start to choose your saviors, right? When you're in a savior state, just being mindful, being present, not running on autopilot all the time, and recognizing how many choices you can make, that will let you go, oh, right, I'm choosing to do my saviors right now. Is this the right choice? And then you're going to pause and you're going to be like, oh, this is kind of clunky, but that's okay. You can then choose to be like, you know what? I know that doing my demons well is probably better, but I can't do this demon well enough. I'm going to default on the savior. That is totally fine. As far as I am concerned, I think that is completely fine and completely reasonable, because all that matters is that you made a choice and that you were aware of that choice and you didn't just default to your savior mode. And one of the reasons that I love working out is that when you work out consistently, when you, like, it's such a positive feedback loop, because you go to the gym, you get a good sweat on, you get the endorphins, right? You get all the things. And then once you start working out, your body wants to choose different food, because it's like, hey, if you're doing this workout thing, I need vegetables, I need healthy fat, and I need protein. And you just don't want to reach for popcorn, because physiologically, like, you're just more aware of your body and your body's needs. And you're like, yeah, popcorn's not gonna do it. I need salmon and Brussels sprouts. And then once you start eating salmon and Brussels sprouts after your workouts, and then you go and you do another workout, and you know, the next day or whatever, and you have another good workout, you're like, shit, okay, right, I can choose different foods. I can choose different things. And once you start to get comfortable choosing, especially if you're choosing your saviors, choosing to clean your room, choosing to do your dishes, whatever, then when you're faced with a situation where you need to do your demons, where doing the demons is the right thing, whatever, you're going to be like, okay, I'm not comfortable doing my demon, but I am comfortable choosing it. And that's half of it. Jumping straight to do your saviors, do your demons. No, we're missing a very critical step here, which is choosing to do your savior or your demon. And that's the muscle. That to me is the fundamental muscle to build. And you know, there was a discussion earlier on the main group that I thought was very interesting, and it was talking about, like, how much control do we have, and chaos, and this, and, you know, the things we can control, things we can't, and frustration with the universe, and whatever. And the more that I really thought about it, the more convinced I am that it's really important to understand how much we actually have control over. Because I really do believe that we have control over so many things. And there are lots of things that we do not have control. I did not have control over the car that was on fire. I had no control over that. I couldn't have talked to the person who let his car overheat. I couldn't, go back to past Raja and be like, hey, by the way, you're going to be dealing with some wild shit tonight. You should probably, fireproof all the things that matter. No, I can't control these things. But it doesn't matter that I can't control them. Same with other people's behavior. I cannot directly control how another person behaves. But I absolutely can control how I respond to that person. I can control how I manage my emotional state, the amount of time that I take before responding to this person. I can control in the future, like, oh, if this person behaved a certain way to me, what did I do that made that other person feel like what they did was an okay thing to do? Right? And sometimes it's like, oh, you know what? I'm a little bit too accommodating to their negativity. Or conversely, you know what? I do not give this person enough sustained attention, which is why they lashed out at me, because this is the only way that they knew to get my attention. Oh, that's also interesting, right? But all of these things are choices we can make. And so what I want to encourage you to do is just to start, set a hourglass timer for a minute, and then just go about your day for a minute and just think about all of the little choices you're making. Oh, I'm choosing to scratch my nose. Oh, I'm choosing to click on the screen because whatever, I need a punchy something. Oh, I'm choosing to get up and go to the couch. Oh, I'm choosing to go to the refrigerator. Oh, I'm choosing to take out the trash. And if try to frame as much as you can as a choice rather than a default, and you'll realize you're like, oh my God, I could have done that in a completely different order. I didn't even have to sit on the couch. Oh my God, I didn't get a glass of water because I was still drinking my cold brew from this morning. Oh, right, well now I can either choose, like I can't stop the video because I do this shit in one take, but I'm like, oh, that's a really interesting choice that I made, 22 minutes and 20 seconds ago, of not getting a glass of water and thinking I could rock with a cold brew. Building that choosing muscle is really, really important. And it's not even that hard to do in terms of time. Like, even just doing it for a minute, occasionally throughout the day, just to draw your attention and your awareness to how much is within your control. At least for me, it has made it so much easier and more pleasant to be able to accept the things and the people that are outside of my control, because it's like, listen, I got enough choices that I'm making for me. I don't have the time or the energy to worry about anything that is outside of my locus of control. All right, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!